Welcome to the Lovers Lounge podcast, where we talk to experts and other guests on topics related to love, relationships, and sex. I am your host, Tina Love, and on this episode, I am talking to the founder of Red Cup Conversations on Facebook Live. He is a certified life coach with an emphasis on dating and relationships. Terrell Williams, welcome to the show.
Thank you. I'm glad to be on. And
well, talking to me all the way from California. Now, are you in LA? Is that it?
I am in LA. Yes, I am.
All right. Well, I don't know how I ran across you on Facebook, but somehow I happened to be flipping through, and then I noticed a video with you and your red solo cup, and you were in your
Yes.
kitchen. And you were trying to get yourself all situated. Of course, you had your Frosted Flakes cereal box there on the side. And I was like, at first, I was like, now, who is this? And then I sat there for a moment and started listening to you talk about ghosting. And when you started talking and, people were, answering back, and I saw the reception between you and the virtual audience. And I was like, okay, I need to get this dude on the show. So
Yes.
thanks a lot for coming on. So, when did you start doing Red Cup Conversations on Facebook?
I originally started in 2017, and the way that it kind of came about, one day I just hit the live button and I just started talking about relationships. And at the time, I was in a relationship and I was drinking out the red cup. So I got a good reception then. I did it for maybe like a month and a half, and I just eventually just stopped doing it. And for like a year and a half, I didn't do it.
Mm-hmm.
But during that year and a half, I had like 15 different people that had watched me from when I did it throughout the month and a half come up to me, and they was like, "You have to continue doing that, please. Like, what you have to say, everybody needs to hear. What you're saying is good information for us, So the beginning of 2019, I started back doing it pretty much every Thursday full time.
Okay. All right. And you also have a video or on YouTube, is that right? Like, do you
Yes,
also
I
do
do.
this? Yeah. Okay.
I have a couple of videos on YouTube. I think I have one about ghosting. I have one about the 10 relationship red flags. And I just put up one last week about why dating is complicated in 2020.
Ah, got it. Okay. So now, interestingly enough, Terrell, I noticed you seem to have a lot of women on your feed, kind of
I,
listening to you. I'm sure you've noticed that as well.
yes, I do. My audience is predominantly women.
Okay. Is that intentional, or is that just because, well, women are finding you interesting and wanting to hear? Do you think that, men don't want to hear this information, or why do you think that there's mostly women listening or watching and listening?
My my audience is mainly women, but I do have some men that come on there. I do have some regulars, at least maybe 5 that may come on there and comment pretty much every week. And um, the beginning of 2019, I talked more so like towards the women.
Okay.
Um, Everything was more so geared towards, the women. But I would have, some of the males come on and we would talk and have conversations in and around the male side of things also.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but it's pretty much just the women, every Thursday they're there to hear what I have to say. And I think a lot of women are getting a lot of knowledge and a lot of understanding from what I am saying and what I am trying to get out to the world.
Right. Hearing it from a male perspective, because
Yeah.
there's so many women, like what I'm noticing, I guess, in doing this show and, talking to other experts such as yourself and dating coaches and relationships and all that. There are a lot of people single who are looking for love And as they are looking, they're like running into dead ends, and, they're having all this heartbreak and experiencing all this pain. Some of them don't want to continue. They don't want to, even try anymore, but then some do. And I think, women in general are just very interested in hearing and trying to figure out what are they doing wrong, how can they avoid, these pitfalls. And so I guess, watching and listening to you probably puts them at ease and they trust you. So that's good.
Yes, definitely. And that's one of the reasons why I do what I do. Sometimes I will get somebody saying, "Oh, well, you're bashing women," and like I have to explain to them. I'm like, it's not that I'm bashing, but you have to understand. Um, I have to speak from my experience,
Hmm.
and I always give that disclaimer. Like, you know, it's from my experience, but at the same time, I give the woman side, but I also give the man side of things too, you
Right.
know. And like I explained to the women, I'm like, what we were taught as kids growing up doesn't necessarily mean we were taught the correct and the right way,
Right.
you know. So men have a lot of unraveling to do also in regards to us dating women, us caring for women, us really being there for women because we may have our own little issues that we may be dealing with within ourselves.
Right.
So I do, I do get across to the men, and sometimes I would have, some of the men come on and kind of give their take just to kind of add to what I'm saying. And, the women would agree with a lot of the things that the other men were saying. So it's kind of like, it's just not coming directly
From
from
you.
me,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And I can imagine sometimes it's some hard truth, like,
Yeah,
sometimes the truth hurts a little bit. But
it does.
yeah, but at the same time, I mean, you are trying to help. And so they need to be open and ready to listen and gain that information. So you're
Right. And
certified. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. And some, like you said, the truth is hard to hear sometimes.
Right.
But the thing about the truth is that when it's put out there, it has to make you look into the mirror and say, okay, well, what do I need to change within myself,
Right.
you know, to attract something different or to be something different or to, pursue something different? Because we always tend to be okay with where we're comfortable at. And
Right.
a lot of times you have to step out of your comfort zone to get something different or to do something better within yourself.
Right. Why continue to do the same thing over and over again, expecting the different result? If you want a different result, then you have to do something different.
And when you don't do it, it's called insanity.
It really is. Yes. So you're a certified life coach with an emphasis on relationships and dating. So, how did you start coaching and then narrowing it down to dating and relationships?
Um, I was 19 years old and I went to a bookstore and Les Brown was there having a motivational speaking um, session that night. And I sat there and I listened to this man just talk and explain just about life. And from that moment on, I always knew I wanted to be a motivational speaker. A couple of years later, within my life, I had a knack for relationships. I just always wanted to fix people in their relationship, even though I really was young and I really didn't know all the aspects of being in a relationship because I was young myself. I had always been just kind of driven to want to do better for us as, black people, you
Okay.
know,
Okay.
and I ended up getting a job at AT&T. I've been there for 19 years and, the job pays me very well. So I really kind of just put my passion on the back burner or the back seat and I didn't, I really didn't pursue it. But what ended up happening is I went through a bad breakup. And after that bad breakup, I was just like, you know what? I need to pursue what it is that God has given me to pursue and get out here and talk to men and women to try to have to try to help us have a better understanding of each other so we can have better relationships going forward.
Okay. All right. And so you've gone through the certification process, and what was that like for you?
I went to an online class. The online class took a month and a half to do, and pretty much um, it explained, the different aspects of relationships, how to coach people um, within relationship issues, and um, and how to deal with clients as in regards to getting them to try to change their
Right.
thought process or to try to change you know how they go about looking at things and how they go about doing things.
Right. And I bet it's really interesting because I would think, a lot of times people don't want to change. Like they really would rather change somebody else than change
Yeah,
themselves. I would
correct.
think that's probably the hardest thing is getting someone to take their eyes off of the external and kind of put it on the internal. Look in the mirror. Let's see what your patterns are. Let's see what you are
Hmm.
doing that may be playing a part in some of this. And so I would imagine that's probably some of the hardest things as a coach to get people to do.
Yeah, because no one ever wants to look in the mirror and look at themselves.
Right.
Everybody always wants to blame somebody else for some of the things that they've been through in life. Because when you have to look inward, that means you have to deal with the hurts, the traumas, the disappointments that you've been through in life. You know,
Right.
a lot of us, men and women, because it's just not necessarily women, even though you may hear, people or you may hear men say, women have daddy issues, but, it's a lot of men that have mommy issues too,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know?
Right.
So you can't necessarily just put it on one person, Everybody has their issues. Everybody has been through heartache and pain in their life. The difference between men and women is that women know how to deal with it a little bit better than we do.
Okay.
You know, a man can get his heart broke one time and it will just be bad for everybody else after that.
Oh yeah.
Where a woman is a little more compassionate to where she may get her heart broke a couple of times throughout her life and still have that drive to want to be in a relationship, want to be married, want to have a good, healthy relationship.
Right. So it
Where
keeps
with,
yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say so it keeps her in the game. It keeps her trying and really
Definitely.
buying into this and wanting to do it because she that desire to have that. Yeah.
Definitely. And for men, it's a little bit different because we get our heart broke one time and then we just kind of, label every single woman that comes along can do that also, you know. So it makes it a little bit harder for us to kind of fall in love or really, allow somebody in because it's harder for us to deal with the hurt than it is for women to deal with the hurt.
Yes. But it can be done, right, Terrell? I mean,
Oh,
men
definitely,
can
definitely.
you can get past that.
Definitely, definitely. I mean, I can, and one thing about me is I have no problem with being transparent with myself. I have never been the perfect boyfriend. I've done a lot of things that, may not have been kosher at the time. But, the good thing about it is that I've taken the time out within myself to work on the things that I have an issue with so if and when I do, date and or, remarry, um, I won't bring none of that luggage or baggage into the next relationship.
Okay. All right. Good. Well, now as promised, I want us to talk about ghosting because this is what,
Yeah.
like I said, this was the conversation that I saw you doing in your
But
kitchen with your red cup. And I was like, okay. So, first off, tell the audience what ghosting is.
ghosting is when you meet a person and you guys are having good communication, you guys may be hanging out everything is pretty much going good within you two. And one day you reach out and the person doesn't respond. You call the person doesn't answer your phone call. You may DM or inbox, and even though you know that they're online, they never respond to you.
Okay.
So ghosting is pretty much, you meet somebody, you're into them, for whatever reason, they stop wanting to talk to you, and instead of just being a man or a woman about it and saying, hey, well, I don't think this is going the way I want it to go, or this is not what I wanted. So you know what? I think I'm gonna go ahead and just exit this friendship. They just fall off the
Vanish.
face of the earth, pretty
Yeah.
much. Yeah,
Yeah. And you had said, you were like, we've all been ghosted. Like I've been ghosted, you've been we've all been ghosted. So
yeah,
I was sitting there thinking, and I mean, I had to think, I was like, when? And then it dawned on me. I'm like, oh yeah. I had to remember. But yes, it is so baffling. You're just like, well, what, what happened? So I
yeah.
like the fact that you broke it down. About things that could have happened that play a part in ghosting. So why don't you share some of those things with us?
Okay. Some of the things that, some of the reasons why ghosting happens is, one is they're just not into you. You
Okay.
know, they may meet you, the conversation may be good, um, and it may be okay for them at that time, but then something may happen, or they just may have a change of heart, and that's when the friendship kind of changes.
Right.
You know, um, one of the other ones I said about ghosting is, if you if you have sex too quick or too fast,
Okay.
you can meet a person, and you and that person end up having intercourse, and he's gotten what he wanted, so he moves on and goes on about his business. You
Okay.
know,
Right.
um, another part is they may already be in another relationship or in between another relationship. You know,
Mm-hmm.
they may meet you, think you're cute, or just have general conversation with you, and you guys are communicating, but then they're in a relationship because you can't talk to them at a certain time, or after a certain time they vanish, or you can't call, or you text them, they don't call you back, or they don't text you back.
Okay.
So they can be in a relationship or in between a relationship, because when you're in between a relationship, that means the person may not necessarily be together, but they're still trying to figure it out.
Okay. And so I guess I want to stop you just for a moment because I'd like to get a little more information. You talked
Okay.
about the fact that, and it sounded like you were kind of directing this toward women, is having sex with the person too soon. Why do
Yeah.
you think that women end up doing this? Like, what is really going on, do you think? Why do they seem
I
to do
think
this?
the reason why that is because the man to woman ratio is like, I think it's like 1 to 15. I've had a debate with somebody where it's like it's a little bit lower, maybe like 1 to 10, 1 to 9, 1 to 11. I think it's a little bit higher. And women, especially when you get a certain age, women want to be in relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Women want to have somebody they can call their own, and they may meet a person that may have a lot of things that they're interested in, or the guy may look good, he may have money, he just may have that charisma about himself. And instead of taking the time out to get to know this person before you have intercourse with this person, it's just kind of like, you know what, let's just get that out the way, and then we can figure out what it is or what comes after the fact.
Okay.
And I think a lot of women kind of do that, and when they end up getting ghosted, or um, just left on read, it kind of like it's a strike to their ego,
Okay.
you know.
Right. And you said left on read. You're going to break that down.
Left on read is on the iPhones. There's an option to where if somebody reads your text message,
Okay.
it'll let you know at the bottom that they read it, but they don't respond back to you.
Oh, okay.
So it's called left on read. You
Ah,
know?
yes. Okay. You just had to break it down for me. That's
Yeah,
all. I mean,
definitely,
keep it plain. Keep it plain.
definitely,
All right.
definitely.
So those are good. Okay. So you said they're just not into you, or they stop being interested. You have sex with them too soon, and then the third one was they are in a
They're already in a
relationship.
relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's pick up the other one.
Another one is just you may be in competition with another woman,
Ah.
which probably is what usually happens the most. You know, when a man is single, he has the option of talking to multiple women, um, at the same time. You know, and as a man, sometimes you can kind of overload yourself and try to juggle three and four women at the same time. And after a while, it just maybe becomes too much or just too tedious for you to be able to keep up the facade of, juggling more than one woman, you know.
Right.
So when that happens, at some point you got to be like, okay, well, I have to do some cutting,
Okay.
and you might be the person that gets cut. So, it's like you get ghosted.
Yeah. I would think right now, especially with online dating, like, Match.com and all these different sites, and then, you're overloaded. Men are anyway. I'm thinking,
Definitely.
with all these pictures of all these women, and I
Yeah,
mean, I often think men get like ADD when it comes to that because they just can't focus. Like there's just so
true.
many. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And so there is, I would imagine, probably a lot of competition, especially if the man is telling you, "Well, I'm just dating." Like I'm not really ready to settle down. I'm just gonna date around. Okay, so then
yeah.
definitely you're in competition with other women. Yeah, I could see that. Okay, what's the other one?
And I just want to say this: what women need to understand about when a man tell you he's dating,
Mm-hmm.
you have to take it for what he's saying. You
Okay.
know,
Right.
if a man tell you he's dating, believe him.
Right. Right.
Okay, believe him, because what that entails for you is that I am going out with other women. I am hanging out with other women. I am talking to other women,
Right. Right.
So you can't just inject yourself onto this person thinking that, this person is going to be your boyfriend or your significant other. You have to take it for what it is,
Okay.
you know?
Right.
You have to understand this man is dating. So, you know, you're going to fit wherever you need to be fitted, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Mm-hmm.
And if you approach it that way, then you won't allow your feelings to get so involved because the man is not lying to you about what he's doing.
Right. And
You
it
can't
really,
look at.
yeah,
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and it really sounds like if he's telling you that this is what he's doing, then I would think the woman's response should be, okay, you know where he stands. So now you are able to make your decision on how you want to roll, right? You now know what's up with him. Now you can decide, okay, so am I going to continue to just date him or should I also, you know, date around and see other
Exactly.
people and that kind of thing. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's and I think that's the most important part, and that's a part I want to get to the audience is, if a man tells you that, take it for what it is. Now, it doesn't mean that you still can't get to know this person. It still doesn't mean you can't go out on dates. It still doesn't mean you guys can't hang out or talk. You still can do that, but you can't necessarily look at this person as he's going to be my boyfriend.
Hmm.
At least not in the beginning.
Right.
You have to work your way up to that if that's what it's going to be. Because the way I look at it is that the man is going to always choose what he thinks is best for him. And if you do more than what the others are doing, then you're going to be the one that's going to be number one, or you're going to be the one that's going to be chosen. Because what any woman has to understand and know is that the right woman will change any man.
Okay.
I don't care who the man is. I don't care what he's doing. But that right woman will come into his life and he will change everything about himself.
And I want to make sure you're that right woman with an R, not a W. That right woman.
Yeah, with an R.
Yes. Okay. Yeah, I wanted to make sure. Okay. All right. And is there another?
Another one is that he just may be afraid to get into a relationship.
Okay.
You know, when men get their hearts broke, we process it and we deal with it totally different. Some of us have gotten our hearts broke, in high school, in our early years, and we never forget that. We never forget that feeling, you know. And what it does for men is it makes us put up that wall. We put up a wall that's just hard for anybody to knock down, or it's hard for us to let a person in.
Right.
You know, and when we get our hearts broke, like I said, we process it different. We deal with it differently than a woman may deal with it. And what it does for us is just like we don't ever want to feel that pain and that hurt again. So we try to do everything in our power to avoid it. Doesn't mean, you can't meet somebody and fall in love again, but it's just kind of like you have to go through trials and tribulations for me to kind of open myself up to you, because I've been hurt before and I don't want to be hurt again.
Okay. Yeah. So that all makes very very good sense, and I think when I listened to you for the first time and you were talking about ghosting, I want to get to this because I have to wrap up, but I'm going to
Okay.
definitely have you come on. Let's do a part two of this.
Okay.
Um, but when you were carrying on, and then you talked about how when you've been ghosted, the ghost definitely comes back.
They
S-
always come back.
They always come back. So, can
They
you share?
always come back.
Yeah. And so, when they come back, what should the person do when they come back? I know
Okay.
you said in the video you like, and some of y'all let them come back, and then some women were like, no, I don't, no, I don't. You
Yeah.
know, you like, yeah, whatever.
Right. Right.
So, what should they do?
What should you do is you shouldn't give them no time, no energy, nothing. Do not let them back,
Okay.
because it's a possibility. I'm gonna say it's a strong possibility that they will ghost you again.
Mm, okay.
So
But
to the
now,
women out there that's listening, if a guy ghosts you and he comes back, do not give it no energy. Block them. Do whatever it is you need to do. Do not let them back into your realm, because it's a possibility he can do it again.
that's right. So, and I know some women, even though they say they don't do it,
They
oh,
do.
but he fine, and then they end
Mhm.
up, letting him back
Mhm.
in. Now, here's the thing, though. Men, you guys are hunters, right? You're conquerors.
We are.
And when you are faced with something that you can't have, or a person is saying you can't have, what does it do for you as a man?
Um, well, it kind of depends. Like for myself, I'm an alpha male. So if you tell me I can't have something, then I'm going to exhaust every avenue until I know I can't have it. You know, some men you may say, well, you can't have it, and they may be like, okay, well, that's fine, and they move on to the next. But they really want it, so it still kind of lingers within them.
Right.
You know,
Right. Okay. Yeah.
my father taught me young. He said, when you meet a young lady, you can't be afraid of the rejection, because you don't know where she's at in her life at that point. Maybe at that point, you're just not the one for her.
Right.
So never be mad, afraid, or hurt behind being rejected, because you don't know what's going on with her or where she's at. You
Okay.
just might not be that person at that time for her.
All right.
It has
So,
nothing to do with you.
so Terrell, how can the listeners continue to hear your talks? I know we talked about it's on YouTube. You do it on Facebook. Are you on social media? Twitter, Instagram, if you'll just share that information.
Yes, I am. My IG handle is Red Cup Rail, RedCuprale on IG. My YouTube channel is under Horace Williams. It's Life Coaching with Horace Williams. So I do have a couple of videos on there. I do plan on putting some more soon. So if you guys can go on there, watch the videos, like, comment, and subscribe. My name on Facebook, which I do my Facebook live every Thursday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, is under Terrell Williams. Terrell is my middle name, so I go by Terrell Williams on there. And I also share my videos. My page is public, so you don't have to request me if you don't like.
Uh-huh.
So my page is public, and every Thursday, 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, I do go live, and I talk about relationship topics, but I'm also kind of starting to go into self-care also. I think we need to talk about self-care just as much as we talk about relationship things. So I'm kind of doing a little bit of both now.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Terrell, for coming on the show. Definitely, we will do a part 2 to this.
Thank you.
We're going to come back. We're going to talk more about ghosting, and we're going to talk about the red flags. If
Yes.
I'm in a relationship and I start to see some crazy stuff,
Yes.
what are the red flags? And you're going to share that with us. So
Yes.
can't wait to have you back. Thank you again for coming on. I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to the Lovers Lounge podcast, where we talk to experts and other guests on topics related to love, relationships, and sex. I am your host, Tina Love, and until next time, peace. And of course, don't forget, love.